The first violation notice came on a Tuesday. It was bright yellow, slapped right on our front door like some kind of criminal warrant. Unauthorized structure section 8, paragraph 3. Remove within 48 hours or face fines. My hands shook as I read it. The unauthorized structure? My sister Emily's wheelchair ramp. Welcome. To my channel, please subscribe if you want more Karen and HOA stories. I crumpled the paper and turned to see Emily rolling up the ramp behind me, her face pale from another long night working at the hospital. Another love letter from the HOA? She asked, forcing a smile. Before I could answer, we both heard the click of a camera. There she was, Linda Carter, HOA president, standing in her perfectly manicured lawn taking photos of our house with her iPhone. Again, her designer sunglasses couldn't hide the smirk on her face. "Morning, neighbors," she called out in that fake sweet voice. "Just documenting violations for the board." I lost it. "It's a wheelchair ramp, Linda. Emily needs it to get into her own damn house." Linda pulled out her HOA rulebook like it was the Bible. Section 8 clearly states all exterior modifications require board approval. We have to maintain property values, you understand. She eyed Emily's ramp like it was a pile of garbage. "That thing is an eyesore." Emily put a hand on my arm before I could explode. "We followed all the city permits," she said calmly. "The ramp meets ADA requirements." Linda's smile didn't waver. "City permits don't override HOA bylaws. You have until Friday to remove it." As she strutted away in her ridiculous high heels, she called over her shoulder, "Or we'll remove it for you." That night, I found Emily reviewing legal documents at 2 a.m. "What are you doing?" I asked. She turned her laptop toward me. The screen showed a news article. Governor announces new disability rights legislation. Underneath was a photo of Emily shaking hands with the mayor at some fancy event. "You never told the HOA you're the governor?" I gasped. Emily sighed. "I wanted to be just Emily here, not Governor Hayes." She pointed to the screen. "But Linda's violating at least 3 state laws. If she touches that ramp." My phone buzzed. A text from our neighbor. "Saw Linda meeting with I barely slept that night." At 5:30 a.m., the sound of rumbling engines woke me up. I ran to the window and my stomach dropped. A yellow bulldozer sat in our driveway, its metal blade shining under the streetlights. Linda stood beside it in her stupid red blazer, pointing at Emily's ramp like a general ordering an attack. 2 construction workers in orange vests were measuring the ramp with tape. I grabbed my phone and started recording. "What the hell are you doing?" I yelled as I ran outside. Linda turned with that fake smile. "Oh good, you're awake. We're just enforcing HOA rules." She waved some papers in my face. "Emergency removal order. This eyesore comes down today." I tried to grab the papers, but she pulled them back. "You can't do this. Emily needs that ramp. The HOA can do whatever we want," Linda said, her voice like ice. She nodded to the bulldozer driver. "Start it up." The engine roared to life. I called Emily, but it went straight to voicemail. She was in some important meeting. The neighbors started coming outside in their pajamas, phones in hand. Mr. Wilson from across the street looked furious. "Linda, this is too far," he shouted. But Linda just crossed her arms. "Rules are rules." The bulldozer moved forward. The blade hit the ramp with a horrible crunch. Concrete chunks flew everywhere. I kept recording, my hands shaking. That's when I noticed something weird. The construction workers looked nervous. One kept checking his paperwork. Suddenly, police sirens wailed in the distance. Linda rolled her eyes. "Who called the cops? This is a legal HOA action." But then 3 black SUVs with government plates turned onto our street. The bulldozer stopped. Everyone froze. The first SUV door opened. A man in a suit stepped out. "Linda Carter," he said. "We're from the state attorney's office. You're under investigation for violating the Americans with Disabilities Act." Linda's face went white. That's impossible. The HOA is exempt from dash. The man cut her off. No, you're not. That's when the back door of the second SUV opened. Emily rolled out in her wheelchair, wearing her official governor's pin. The whole street gasped. Linda looked like she might faint. Why you're? Emily smiled. Governor Hayes. Nice to finally meet you properly, Linda. The silence on our street was so complete you could hear Linda's expensive heels click as she stumbled backward. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Governor, but... The ramp. Emily wheeled forward, her voice calm but strong. Let me explain something, Linda. That eyesore you just destroyed? It was installed using state-approved contractors. Those papers you're holding? Completely fake. A man in a suit stepped forward with a folder. We checked your so-called emergency order. It was never approved by the full HOA board. Linda's 2 board members suddenly backed away from her. We didn't sign off on this, one shouted. That's when the TV news vans arrived. Reporters jumped out with cameras as neighbors started cheering. I saw Mrs. Wilson from down the street holding up her phone, live streaming everything. Linda turned to Emily, her voice shaking. You tricked me. You never said you were the governor. Emily raised an eyebrow. Should that matter? The law is the law, Linda. Or does that only apply to people you don't like? Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from our neighbor, Mr. Rodriguez. Check your email. Sent you something about Linda. I opened the attachment. It was a photo of Linda accepting cash from a construction company owner. The date was last week. The subject line said, proof she planned this to get their business. Emily saw my face. What is it? I showed her the photo. Her eyes went hard. Linda, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Would you like to explain why you were taking money from Bulldozer Express last Tuesday? The crowd gasped. The police officer stepped forward. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us. As they led Linda away in handcuffs, she kept screaming about HOA rights and property values. But nobody was listening anymore. Emily turned to the crowd of neighbors. This isn't just about me. How many others has Linda bullied? Hands shot up everywhere. Stories poured out. Mrs. Chun fined for her garden. The Baker family harassed about their autistic son's swing set. Mr. Wilson forced to remove his veteran flag display. That's when Emily dropped the biggest bomb. I think it's time we vote for a new HOA board, and maybe review every decision Linda ever made. The cheers were so loud they probably heard them downtown. The next morning, our front yard looked like a war zone. Pieces of broken concrete from the ramp were everywhere. But something else was different. Our driveway was full of cars, and not just from neighbors. News vans from 3 different channels were parked on the street. I was making coffee when the doorbell rang. Standing there was a young woman holding a microphone. Good morning. I'm Lisa from Channel 7 News. We're doing a story about HOAs abusing power. Can we interview you and Governor Hayes? Before I could answer, Emily wheeled up behind me. She was still in her pajamas, her hair messy. Not today, Lisa, she said gently. But give me your card. We'll talk soon. As the reporter left, I noticed something strange across the street. Linda's house had all its curtains closed, but I could see her peeking through a small gap. When she noticed me looking, she quickly disappeared. That's weird, I said to Emily. Linda always leaves her windows open to show off her fancy curtains. Emily smiled. Maybe she's finally embarrassed. Just then, my phone blew up with notifications. The video of Linda's arrest had gone viral overnight. Over 2 million views. The comments were brutal. This is why people hate HOAs. That governor is my hero. Someone check this Linda lady's basement. She probably has HOA violation notices framed on her walls. But the real surprise came at noon. A black car pulled up, and out stepped Mayor Johnson himself. He shook Emily's hand right there in the broken concrete. Governor, he said, the city council wants to discuss new laws to prevent this from happening again. Emily nodded. Good, because I have some ideas. As they talked, I got another text. This time from the construction company that built the ramp. We'll rebuild it for free. And we're starting a fund to help others fight unfair HOAs. I was about to tell Emily when we heard shouting from Linda's house. We turned to see her being escorted out by 2 police officers. A reporter shouted, "Mrs. Carter, any comment about the embezzlement charges?" Linda tried to cover her face with a magazine, but the cameras caught everything. Turns out she'd been stealing HOA money for years. Fancy vacations, new furniture, even plastic surgery. Emily sighed as we watched them put Linda in the police car. This wasn't just about a ramp, she said. It was about someone who forgot that power is for helping people, not hurting them. The moral hit me hard. When bullies get too greedy, they always slip up. And when they do, justice comes rolling in, sometimes literally in a wheelchair. A week after Linda's arrest, our neighborhood looked completely different. The broken ramp pieces were gone, replaced by volunteers building a brand new one. This time with fancy railings and solar-powered lights. But the real change was in the air. People actually smiled at each other now. I was helping carry supplies when a shiny BMW pulled up. A nervous-looking man in an expensive suit stepped out. Excuse me, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. I'm the lawyer representing the the former HOA. Emily wheeled over. What can we do for you? The lawyer swallowed hard. Mrs. Carter's replacement quit yesterday. The entire board resigned, actually. We were hoping. Maybe Governor Hayes could suggest someone to take over. I almost dropped the hammer I was holding. This was rich. After all the trouble they caused. Now they wanted Emily's help? But Emily just smiled. Actually, I have the perfect person. She pointed across the street where Mr. Wilson was watering his plants. He's a retired judge. Knows all about fairness. The lawyer's eyes widened. Judge Wilson? From the Court of Appeals? But he lives here. Mr. Wilson waved at us. Morning, Governor. Ready for our meeting about those new community gardens. The lawyer looked like he might faint. Turns out our quiet old neighbor was kind of a legal legend. Who knew? That afternoon, something even crazier happened. A delivery truck pulled up with a huge wooden crate. The driver handed me a note. From the staff at Bulldozer Express. We're sorry. P.S. The CEO got fired. Inside the crate was a beautiful hand-carved sign that said, Governor's Residence. Protected by state law and common decency. Emily laughed so hard she almost fell out of her chair. Well, she said, I guess we're never getting another violation notice again. But the best moment came at dusk. As the workers finished the new ramp, cars started pulling up. Dozens of them. People from all over town came with flowers, cookies, even hand-painted signs that said, Thank you, Governor Hayes. And HOA's Gone Wild, Stop the Madness. One little girl in a pink wheelchair came right up to Emily. My mom says you're her hero, she whispered. Our HOA won't let me have a ramp either. Emily's eyes got teary. She took the girl's hand. Well, you tell your mom to call my office tomorrow. We're going to fix that. As the crowd cheered, I realized something important. This was never just about one ramp or one bully. It was about all the people who thought they could push others around. And all the people too afraid to fight back. Until now. The first meeting of the new HOA was unlike anything our neighborhood had ever seen. Instead of Linda's stuffy living room, Judge Wilson set up chairs in the park. Over 100 people showed up. Not just from our street, but from all over town. News helicopters circled overhead like hungry seagulls. I was handing out lemonade when a loud argument broke out near the swings. A red-faced man in a polo shirt was yelling at Judge Wilson. This is outrageous. You can't just throw out all our rules. I recognized him, Mark Reynolds, Linda's biggest supporter. The guy who once called the cops on a kid's lemonade stand for operating without a permit. Judge Wilson calmly adjusted his glasses. Actually, Mr. Reynolds, we can. Especially since most of these rules were illegal. He held up a thick folder. Did you know your beloved no solar panels rule violates state law? Or that your approved paint colors list discriminated against half the neighborhood? The crowd started murmuring. Mrs. Chun stood up, shaking. They made me repaint my house 3 times. Said peach was too ethnic. Before Mark could respond, a loud honking sound cut through the park. We all turned to see the most beautiful sight. A giant construction truck rolling down the street, carrying brand new solar panels. The driver leaned out his window. Delivery for the Wilson residence. Governor's orders. Mark's jaw dropped. You can't just. Yes, we can, Emily said, wheeling up beside me. She held up her phone where a news headline blared. State legislature passes historic HOA reform bill. The crowd went wild. People were hugging, crying, some even dancing. But the real twist came next. A police officer walked up to Mark. Sir, we have some questions about your involvement with Linda Carter's embezzlement scheme. Mark turned pale. She promised me a discount on my landscaping. As they led him away, the new HOA board voted on their first official act. A community barbecue to celebrate the end of Linda's reign. Judge Wilson grinned. Motion passed. Now, who's hungry? That night, as the smell of burgers filled the air and kids played on the newly approved tree swings, Emily pulled me aside. Look, she whispered, pointing across the street. Linda's for sale sign was up. The for sale sign in front of Linda's house lasted exactly 3 days before someone threw eggs at it. By the end of the week, the whole neighborhood watched as moving trucks pulled up to her house. But nobody expected what happened next. I was taking out the trash when a familiar voice made me jump. You happy now? Linda stood there in huge sunglasses and a baseball cap, looking nothing like her usual perfect self. Her designer clothes were replaced with sweatpants. Before I could answer, Emily wheeled up beside me. Actually, Linda, the neighborhood finally feels like a community again. Linda's hands shook as she pulled out an envelope. I came to give you this. Emily opened it. It was a check for $20,000. What's this for? To fix your stupid ramp, Linda muttered. Then she dropped her bombshell. I'm moving in with my sister in Florida. Turns out, I can't afford my lifestyle anymore. That's when we noticed the men loading Linda's fancy furniture into a cheap rental truck. Not the professional movers she always bragged about. Emily sighed and handed back the check. Keep it. We already rebuilt the ramp better than before. But maybe use that money to pay back all the people you overcharged for HOA fees. Linda's face turned red. She opened her mouth to argue when suddenly, honk honk, a bright pink convertible screeched to a stop in front of us. The driver? None other than Mrs. Rodriguez, our quiet old neighbor who Linda had fined for her garden gnomes. Linda Carter, Mrs. Rodriguez yelled in a voice we'd never heard before. Remember when you said my car was too loud and not neighborhood appropriate? She revved the engine loudly. Well, guess what? The new HOA just approved my request for a vintage car parking space. Linda looked like she might explode. But the final humiliation came when the moving guys dropped her favorite expensive vase. Crash. As glass shattered everywhere, the workers just shrugged. Oops. Guess that wasn't in the contract. Linda finally broke down crying. I just wanted everything to be perfect. Emily shook her head. There's no such thing as perfect, Linda. Only fair. That night, as we watched Linda's sad little car drive away forever, Emily got a call. The White House wanted to talk about her HOA reform laws becoming a national model. Not bad for a woman who just wanted to use her wheelchair ramp in peace. 2 months later, Emily's story exploded nationwide. What started as a neighborhood drama turned into a full-blown movement. I was eating cereal when my phone buzzed with a CNN alert. Governor Hayes to testify before Congress on HOA reform bill. The doorbell rang. Outside stood a team of people in suits holding cameras. Good morning. We're from 60 Minutes, one said. Can we interview you about how this all started? Before I could answer, Emily wheeled up behind me, still in her pajamas. Not today, she said with a tired smile. We've got ramp building volunteers coming in an hour. But the real surprise came that afternoon. As we helped install a new ramp for little Mia down the street, the girl in the pink wheelchair, a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Senator Harris himself, rolling up his sleeves. "Mind if I help?" he asked. Turns out, Emily's story had inspired something called the National Homeowner Protection Act. The senator handed Emily a pen. "This is the one you'll use to sign it into law next month." That's when my phone blew up again. A text from Mr. Wilson. "Turn on Fox News now." We rushed inside just in time to see Linda's face filling the TV screen. She was being interviewed in Florida, wearing cheap sunglasses at a diner. "And I admit I made some mistakes," she whined. "But this witch hunt has gone too far." The reporter wasn't having it. "Mrs. Carter, records show you stole over $200,000 from your HOA. Do you have anything to say to your former neighbors?" Linda's reply made me spit out my drink. "They never appreciated all my hard work." The screen suddenly split, showing Linda on one side and live footage of our neighborhood block party on the other. Judge Wilson grabbed the microphone. "Actually, Linda, we're appreciating life without your hard work just fine." The whole crowd cheered so loud the TV station had to lower their volume. But the best moment came the next morning. A delivery truck arrived with a special gift from the president himself, an official White House certified ramp plaque that read, "This home stood up for justice." Emily just shook her head laughing as we hung it next to our front door. "Not bad for a Tuesday," she said. Little did we know, the story wasn't over yet. Because that afternoon the FBI called. They'd found evidence Linda had been running the same scam in 3 different states. The FBI investigation blew the case wide open. Turns out, Linda had been running the same HOA scam in 3 different states over 10 years. But the real shocker? She wasn't working alone. One rainy afternoon, a familiar black BMW pulled up to our house. The same car Linda's lawyer had arrived in weeks earlier. But this time, federal agents were leading him out in handcuffs. "Meet the real mastermind," Agent Carter told us, flipping open a file. Turns out your HOA lawyer was Linda's brother-in-law. They've been splitting the stolen money for years. Emily's jaw dropped. That explains why he always took her side. The plot thickened when investigators found secret bank accounts in the Bahamas. But the most surprising twist? The bulldozer company that destroyed our ramp was owned by Linda's cousin. The whole operation was a family business of corruption. News vans camped outside our house for weeks. Emily became famous nationwide as the ramp governor. Schools started teaching her story as an example of how one person can stand up to bullies. At the final court hearing, Linda finally broke down when the judge sentenced her to 5 years in prison. But I was just enforcing rules," she sobbed. The judge wasn't having it. "No, Mrs. Carter. You were exploiting them." As they led Linda away, something amazing happened outside the courthouse. Dozens of disability rights activists cheered, holding signs that read, "Ramps over rules," and "Thank you, Governor Hayes." Back home, our neighborhood became a model community. The new HOA focused on helping instead of harassing, building ramps, planting community gardens, even starting a free tool lending library. On the 1-year anniversary of Rampgate, as the news called it, Emily signed the strongest disability rights law in state history. As she put down the pen, she whispered to me, "Never thought a broken ramp could fix so much." The moral hit me hard. Sometimes the worst people create the best changes, not because they want to, but because they push too far. And when they do, ordinary folks become heroes. As for Linda, last we heard, she got assigned to clean prison bathrooms. The irony? Her cellmate was someone she'd once fined for improper trash can placement. Moral lesson: rules meant to hurt others will always backfire. True power comes from lifting people up, not tearing them down.